seen a couple of people networking, which is amazing. I would also like to get a sense of why you're here today, specifically around email marketing. Are you here because you've literally never done it before? You're thinking of starting? Have you done it before for an employer and you're trying to transfer some skills for your entrepreneurial endeavors and for your own business? Or is it something that you've done for a while, you're not getting the results that you were hoping for, and you're just here to consolidate your knowledge, basically? It would be really nice to know. And I know that we've got two options today. Make sure you put your questions in the Q&A and feel free to interact with me and the rest of the participants in the chat. And I can already see you're giving some feedback. Some of you are starting up, and I think email lists are coming up quite a lot. So building this quality contact list, and I completely get that because you're starting from zero when you're starting. Yeah, using email to help get leads, that's great. Keep telling me what you want to see. And then this is a beginner presentation. I won't make anyone feel overwhelmed or kind of out of your depth. If you are beyond this and you have any specialist questions, those can go in the Q&A and we can touch on them in a bit. That's lovely. I'll keep an eye on your feedback and I will get the presentation started. So I think generally, we are going to, I'm going to start from zero. I will tell you why bother with email marketing. There's about 1,000 different ways that you can reach people. Email marketing is a really important one, and we'll explore why. We'll talk about starting from the right place, which is setting some goals for your email marketing. It's quite easy to go into a forest with a map and try to find your way around, but actually going into a forest with a compass is going to probably get you where you need to go in the right quicker, because the map will have a million different ways to take, but the compass will show you where you want to end up. Anyway, moving along from this metaphor, setting goals for your marketing will help you to know where is your goal. And there's a million ways to get there, but at least you know you can focus on where you need to go in the different ways that you'll get there. We'll talk about developing a mailing list, which you guys have already spoken about already. And we will also talk about content. So when it comes to sending emails, what are you going to put in these emails? I also want to remind you to test your emails and also use automation to make your life easier. So you're not spending so much of your really, really valuable time doing things that a campaign could be running by itself. So one of your platforms could be doing itself. And finally, measuring success. We shouldn't forget that. But let's just speak about why use email marketing. I will tell you that according to research, most people prefer to stay in touch over email. And that is, in comparison, 63% of participants in this digital marketing study said that they want to hear from retailers over email. And then 25% said that they wanted to hear from them on social media. So as you can see, a vast majority of people wants to stay in touch with retailers over email. And as a business that is offering a service, you will find that a lot of your customers will be interested to be in that place where you can stay in touch with them, but they also have control over kind of how they get this information, and they prefer emails. And email is a very direct channel. You send that communication to one person who will most likely see it. So instead of having to compete with thousands of other different elements that are kind of popping up on their news feed and on all the other media that they use, their email is a very focused place where they will find your information. You can own and control your newsletter, so it's not affected by everything else that happens around it as much as it would be, for example, on a social media platform. It's affordable, and it has you will either get it for free because for example, you might be using MailChimp for free. There are some limitations, but you can still do really good email marketing for free using any of these platforms. But even if you're paying for a subscription, a lot of times, and if you're doing it right, your return on investment is higher than whatever subscription you pay to get some of the extra professional tools that they give you, such as automations. Everyone has an address, but not everyone is on social media. So, or anyway, your social media. So you will find that you might be going to the right platform to target your key customers, but there might be others that are just not in that platform, but they will have an email. They will be able to communicate with you through that. And just to talk briefly about your goals. Email marketing, like I said, is personalized and immediate, it's affordable, and it's about moving customers across the buying process. So some of you might or might not be familiar with the idea of setting funnels. A funnel, let's just think about it as the shape that it is. It's wider at the top and it's narrower at the bottom. So at the top, you have a huge amount of potential customers. Perhaps there's leads. Some of them would be good for your business. Some of them would not be interested. And then you're trying to get those people across the different steps of learning about your business, thinking about perhaps engaging with it, thinking about your products, thinking about whether they should buy your products, and then finally making a decision to buy or not. So very briefly, these are the general steps of marketing, where you take people from being absolutely unaware of you to buying from you. And then you want to think about your newsletter as a way to take people through those steps. There is a model, it's called the IDA model of buyer psychology. And I don't need you particularly to remember these words or where it came from. But what I want you to remember is that it starts with, again, this funnel shape, and the awareness is the largest part of this spectrum, where it is so many people might start to become aware of your products. Less of them will be interested, less of them will have the desire to buy your product, and then even less people will make the action of buying. So if you think about your customer journey and you understand it, you can use email marketing to trigger those points and move people from awareness to interest, move lots of them down to interest, then move lots of them down to desire. You want to align your goals with your business objectives and then drive your customers down this funnel in this way. You're thinking about this for all your other marketing, but today we're talking about email marketing anyway. Just very quickly, so I'm not just speaking to you guys and I can get some feedback. Can you guess when this model of buyer psychology first appeared and kind of became formalized and became a theory? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of 1925, more 70s now, lots of people guessing 70s. That's great. This is how I know you guys are still with me and kind of paying attention because there's a lot here. Yep, I'm getting some 50s as well. All right. So this model came out in the 1890s, and someone has said 1895. John said 1895, which I wonder if I don't actually remember if that's the exact date, but it might be. This is a very old model. It was introduced by a salesman, according to the Oxford Dictionary. And what I want you to get from this is that we are not reinventing the wheel. Buyer psychology is like psychology. We're humans. We haven't changed the way that we instinctively react to stuff in probably thousands of years. I don't know. I'm not a professional that understands those things anyway, but understanding marketing psychology will really help you to just get your head around, okay, these are very basic principles that have existed for hundreds of years, as long as people have tried to sell things to each other. So I'm not going to be reinventing the wheel. Um, yeah, you would think it's more modern, wouldn't you? That's true, Heather. And I also was very surprised when I found this out. So without focusing so much on the theory itself about being Ada and remembering all the names of the words, just remember this. You're moving people from kind of being in this nebulous awareness space to taking action. And this is the question. How will you engage your audience to go from that big part of the funnel of awareness to take action? We'll do a very quick example where I will introduce you to a small business, and then we'll see 4 or 5 emails that they can send to their customers inspired by this IDA model. So you're moving from complete awareness, which is kind of nebulous and you still don't know what this product is about, to taking action and buying a product. So I'm giving you this imaginary company. Lily and Lamb is a small independent candle shop at a seaside town. So they are not in a bustling metropolis. They're using digital tools to drive sales. And Lily is interested in increasing online sales through their digital marketing. So here's an example of one email that Lily can create. It's an email that shows different variety of candles. It also mentions that they use natural ingredients and that they have unique fragrances. So it's taking quite a generic approach to introduce you to this idea of why this product might be different from the others. So it asks you to go to the website to look at the offers that they have. Then after Lily thinks, okay, some people might have their eye on my business now. They know kind of why my business is different. Then she thinks, okay, I'm going to pique their interest and get them to do a quiz to find their favorite scent, for example. What is the scent that they should do for this summer? You know, what candles will they buy for this summer? How can you use the candle on a hot summer night as you would on a cold winter night? And then we've got a bit of creating this sense of scarcity where there's summer scents that will not be available in autumn. So also the sense that if you don't buy this now, you will be missing out on something. And then it's also another one that we've created for this imaginary company is to get the sense of, okay, there's something that was gone because it was so good and now it's back in stock. Again, creating this idea of scarcity and limited availability. But as you can see from where we started really general and we moved down to this idea that people are engaged. They're here for this product and they will come back because now their favorites are back in stock. So you get ideas for what you and I noticed someone has just, okay, Rowan has just asked if these emails come out independently or if it's part of um, a journey, perhaps. And we can talk about that later in the Q&A. But yeah, you could have a journey where a new contact joins and you trigger these 4 emails to them in a regular kind of a logical amount of space in between, and you see whether this person is moving down the funnel. If anyone understands setting up journeys with email marketing and automating email marketing, that's great. If you don't understand it, we could talk about it in more detail in the Q&A. Now, for the topic of mailing lists, I know a lot of you are interested, and I don't want to not cover this. And it was a lot of the questions as well that I received before the webinar. You have 2 ways to grow your mailing list. Let's just say 2 main ways. You have internal lists, which are people that you know. People have come to you to get onto your mailing list, or you've met them in a market. These are high quality contacts because they're super engaged. They are interested in you. They came to you or you found them, you made a connection, and now they're in your mailing list. The the drawback to this internal lists is that you don't have as wide a reach as you might have with the external ones. So you have so many people that you will meet, so many people that they will do a form and they will tick a box to join your mailing list. Um, the other type of mailing list that you can acquire is an external list. An external list is when you buy from a third party and they might give you 10,000 contacts that you can have in your mailing list. This external party has gotten those contacts, hopefully, through lawful means. So someone has opted in to a list that said, a third party might hear about can you let us share your contact with third parties that will have products that will interest you? You guys have done this. As users, we've all done this. We've ticked a box and a marketer has taken our address and sold it to someone. So you get hopefully legally, thousands of contacts. So it's very fast audience growth. However, the engagement is very low because it's very, very likely that person will get a communication from you and they will not know why. They won't remember ticking a box. Maybe they won't even know that they ticked a box that had some terms and conditions that meant their address will be shared. The other risk with this is that you might be getting contacts that were not lawfully acquired, so not really truly GDPR compliant. And that is why generally I really believe in growing your lists internally rather than really relying on external lists. I know they really work for some people, but generally speaking, I do recommend internal lists for email marketing. And here's how you can develop those. You can have a website pop-up, which you all have seen, where it says, get 10% off, get 20% off, join our mailing list now. People will join, they will get a code to get a discount from your products. Maybe they will then opt out, or maybe they won't. So you'll have a number of people that will stay on your mailing list from that. You also have opportunities to have lead magnets. If you don't do products per se, but you have a service, you might be working on lead magnets where if you're a consultant or a coach, you will say, join our mailing list to get our guide that shows you 5 tips to deal with your teenagers as they enter that phase of their life, for example. So you can generate contacts for those mailing lists through giving them a bit of value. On social media as well, you can do giveaways, you can do ads that generate leads. So those are specific kind of ads where the user has to put their email in there. Yeah, so there's lots of ways for you to grow your mailing list yourself internally without relying on buying from external suppliers. Every touch point is an opportunity to grow your mailing list. Without going into too much detail, because there's a lot here, but you can rewatch that later on the Digital Boost platform. If you've got pop-ups, if you've got a footer on your website where people can go and add their email, you always make the most of these opportunities. You can have, when someone buys from you on the checkout process, they can have an option to opt into your email marketing. When someone signs up, if you have an e-commerce website where people have accounts and they have the opportunity to sign up to mailing lists, you give those there too. So every opportunity that you speak to someone at a market, have a QR code for them to join your mailing list. Give them, I recently went to a market, they gave you a sticker if you joined the mailing list, and the sticker was really cool. It was an artist and that was their art. And I could get a sticker only if I joined the mailing list. And I did. And that was a fantastic way to grow a mailing list. Don't forget to curate your mailing list. So not just add new contacts, but also remove your contacts that opt out, remove contacts that show as they are not engaged, like they haven't opened your email in 6 or 7 campaigns. They might not again. And also definitely remove contacts that bounce, because that means those contacts are undeliverable. They don't exist. Maybe there was a typo in their email, or since then the email has closed down. The reason I'm asking you to curate your mailing lists is not just to have clean data, but also sometimes you pay more when you have more subscribers in your lists, even if those subscribers are not hearing from you. So make sure that those subscribers are gone, so you're not paying for them for no reason. What I want to tell you about developing your content is that people have a short attention span. So you want to make sure that you keep it short and to the point. If you saw those examples earlier, you noticed they were really short, and generally speaking, you don't want to be taking too much space before someone sees a call to action with text. So when you start, you've got your subject line, which will be the thing that gets them to click into that email. It's really important. You want it to be engaging and interesting. And then you've got the header, something really visually engaging that will get their attention. And then also your main body, which is where you'll get, okay, in this email, I want to promote this event that I'm doing. That's where that's going. The key thing I'm promoting, this one thing. I do recommend that with your emails, you just stick to one idea. What do you want people to do with this email? Just one thing. Don't give them 10 different things that they can do in that email, because they will be distracted and they will just not be able to give you the little attention that they have. Because again, our email inboxes are really busy and people are asking for attention even in our email. It's not even like social media, but there's still a lot of attention grabbing in our inbox. You don't need to write this down right now because you will have the recording and everything after the event, but try to stick to short 200-word emails. Don't go much over that. Unless you're doing a specific kind of email that is more like a digest, if you're a writer and you're doing long form articles and you want to share long writing with your readers, that's fine. But if you're selling products, keep it short and sweet. Very few articles, include really good calls to action. That's really important. And use bullet points to make your content skimmable. Don't just give people a wall of text. Right. So let's not forget that email marketing is about nurturing relationships and getting people to remember that you're there, even if they're not buying right away. But if they're opening your emails, don't feel disheartened, because if they're looking at your emails, maybe not every single one, but every other email, they will be there eventually. Maybe they'll be there in 12 months, maybe in 18 months, but they will be there. The most important thing is that you're getting them to remember you are there, even if they're not buying every time. And the stuff that you can share, these are just some general ideas. I think you will know best because you're the person of your business. But just think about ways to pick their interest again, show them that you are kind of doing something different from the others, that you're different from your competition. That's a key goal of your marketing. And then how they can get involved. And also using that kind of scarcity idea where you do limited offers and discounts that won't be around forever. That's quite a classic marketing psychology technique to give people the idea that if they don't act now, they might miss out. I would like you to remember to also always test your emails. If you're about to send out an email, never, ever in your life, ever again, send it out without testing it. Just once. Um, Send a test email to yourself and make sure it works the way you're expecting. I've been sending emails for 11 years in my professional life, working for employers. I've sent hundreds of thousands of emails. I've always tested my campaigns because I always pick something out. There's very rarely have I seen a test email that I thought, oh yeah, that's ready to go. So rare, maybe 5 times in 11 years. And that's not, I mean, I'm a good copywriter. I'm not making typos just intentionally. It's just about really making sure that this amazing thing that you've sat down and curated for your business and for your customers goes out and it looks as good as you planned. Things look different on tablet and mobile, so try to look at it at a couple of different devices. Make sure it's readable. These are very important things that you can do by sending a test email, and I would urge you not to skip this very important step. Sorry, I'm a bit coffee today. Schedule your campaigns. People ask me this a lot. When should I send my emails? The best day is any day, depending on your audience preference. I would say generally you want to send your emails at the first half of the week, but that's not really 100% true for everyone. Aim for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Try those days. And if you're seeing that later on you try the end of the week and you actually get more engagement, stick to the end of the week. Try to send at times when people are not generally working. So if you think about the working day being 9 to 5, send it at the beginning of the day. So maybe when they've sat down at their desk or kind of before they log off their life to log into their work life, and then at the end of the day. But right after work finishes, because maybe these people have caring responsibilities, stuff that takes over their evening, but you want to catch those glimpses of moving from our kind of life to work and work to life. You want to catch that point in between. Lunch times are also a great time to trigger your emails to be sent. And consider how many emails you send as well. So if you might have a really great campaign. If you have a product and you send it out to send a really great limited time offer to 1,000 people, and suddenly 300 of them go on your website and try to buy that product, will you even have enough to satisfy that demand? So be a little bit conscious about what you send to your contacts as well, and whether you could support that if there was a need. And don't send out emails too often, but don't leave it too long that people forget you're there. I'm going to go back to that idea briefly about people they need to remember that you're there for them. That's the most important thing you will do with your email marketing. So I would recommend once every 4 to 6 weeks. That's what I've learned from speaking to lots of people on Digital Boost as learners. We always speak about what you can do. What is your capacity? Can you send out an email every week? If you have content to do that, do it. Send out an email every week. But if you cannot, then it's important to kind of stay on top of their awareness at least once a month to send out an email. So we try every 4 weeks as starting point. And if you find that you can do that more often, do it once every 2 weeks. Continue from there. See if people are reading more of your emails and engaging more. I just saw a message that says, I unsubscribe when people email every week. I find it too annoying. And that's a really good point, Rowan. I think I would do the same. So this is why we want to be conscious of what we are sending. What might be happening in the case when we feel like we're getting too many emails and we're not interested is that we're not finding that the content is different, it's not engaging. So what's happening is that those people are spamming us with messages, but they're always kind of the same thing. If you have new content that is interesting, send emails more frequently, but try not to spam people, which is a really good point. One of the last thing that I want to tell you is to measure and track success. So even though we are very busy and we're already spending all this time trying to create these emails and send them, it's very important to also monitor how they are doing, because if you're doing it blindly, and you don't see the outcome, you don't see whether people are clicking on your links, whether people are opening your emails, you are not really going to see growth because you're not changing your strategy based on the feedback that you're getting from your customers. You're just shouting at them. It's not a conversation. So using data to drive engagement is a very good idea. And these are the key metrics that you want to track. Any mailing platform will give you those analytics anyway. So you've got open rate, click rate, conversion rate, bounce rate, and growth rate. Some of this stuff is more important. If you only look at three things, I would look at open rate, click rate, and conversion rate. Obviously, bounce rate is the emails that you have in your list that are not going anywhere. They're coming right back. Remove those contacts from your list and you will have a zero bounce rate, which is what you want. That bounce rate and growth rate are a bit more, they're great, they're very important metrics, but if you have limited time, I would say look at your open click and conversion rate. And it can be very simple. You can set up a spreadsheet and count it yourself, or use the platform that you're using, whether it be whatever mailing provider, they will all have metrics. You'll be able to see it. Compare them over the months. So what you can see there is from my last newsletter that I ever did, this was the growth of subscribers. And you can see it's very modest because I was interested in a very specific kind of thing with that newsletter. But it did grow, you know, in 6 months, I went from 11 to 23 people. And I just asked people if they would like to join my mailing list after I spoke to them. And I'm tracked that using Google Sheets. So it's not very difficult to do. And yeah, I think if you feel comfortable so far, that's great. If this was a lot of new information, please take everything I told you until now, rewatch the webinar, speak to me. I'm here also. I do mentoring, and we can talk about specifically for you applying all of this knowledge to your business. If you're ready to move forward from that and you're like, okay, I've got this all covered, I understand, I'm interested in automating this and making it more effective for my business, you will talk about creating journeys and using automation. So for example, when someone joins your mailing list, they get a welcome email straight away to introduce them to the business, to tell them why they're here, what are they going to get out of this relationship. So you can really start targeting very specifically and having some really good return on investment if you're ready to move on from that. If you're not, don't fret. Focus on the stuff that we talked about at the beginning, which is around setting up your mailing list, creating good emails, using buyer psychology, and give yourself 6 to 12 months to get that right. And then you can move on to creating journeys and using more automations and segmentation for your marketing. I also want to shout for this particular webinar with Saren. It's amazing. It's about email deliverability. And I know that a lot of you always ask me questions about that. It's about basically making sure that your emails are reaching the inbox and they're not getting caught into spam filters. If you're ready to move on and are more advanced in this topic, make sure you rewatch this particular webinar. It was extremely helpful. I've watched it myself. I was there where Saren did it. And that is it. That is the end of my presentation. And I'm just 5 minutes over. Hopefully we should have lots of nice questions to talk about after this. But thank you. Thank you so much for listening.
Oh, that is amazing. Thank you, Anastasia. And thank you so much for recommending Seren's masterclass. Anastasia is right. That is on the Resource Centre on the Digital Boost platform. If you search email, or as Anastasia very kindly showed, email marketing, it should come straight up for you to watch. We've got lots of fantastic questions, so we are going to dive right in. So kicking things off, with Susie's question, Anastasia, which is, and I love this, Susie says that they have been using an old school Excel spreadsheet, but it is becoming hard to keep track of all of the contacts. Do you have any recommendations for a decent customer relations management system that's not too pricey and is simple to use? What do you think, Anastasia?
All right, yeah. So just to make sure that I understand, we've got a spreadsheet where we have the contacts for our business, maybe some information about whether they've opted into marketing and that relationship management in a spreadsheet. Yeah. Um, I can imagine how that can become overwhelming for sure. It's definitely something where it's really easy to start when you have 5, 10 people, but then when you have 100, then it starts to become cumbersome. I completely understand. Like I have not used a lot of CRMs for, I've used so as an employee, I've used some really expensive CRMs that are amazing, but I could never afford them. As a self-employed person, I used HubSpot. I started with the free version. You do not have to pay them. They give you a CRM for free, and it's extremely user-friendly. I loved HubSpot. Um, and like I said, don't pay for it. Set up your CRM for free. What you do later on, if you want to pay the subscription, and it's really affordable, you can then get a lot of other stuff, including email marketing capabilities. So you're doing everything in one place. You will use HubSpot as an example. This CRM will do your ads, your copywriting, like you can track the emails that you're sending to customers, even outside of email marketing. If you're just speaking to them, you can track it there. It's an amazing CRM tool and it's free with limited capabilities. But the question that I from this question, I think it would be a fantastic start to use a CRM that is free. And there's probably 10 of them, but I have used HubSpot. It was really easy to use and super pleasant. I loved it. So I would recommend you start from that. You don't have to pay for it, but definitely start there.
Yeah, that's a fantastic answer. And yes, I can echo that. We also use HubSpot and it is very user friendly. So, yes, great recommendation. And to those of you who were asking about, well, actually, we'll pick that up in a second, but a couple of you asked that question. So, hopefully, that has covered that off. Now, in the same vein, Guinevere and another attendee have asked about tools or platforms to build email marketing specifically. So I know we just talked about CRM systems, but if somebody isn't at the stage of having a full all singing, all dancing CRM, what other email marketing platforms are good and user friendly? Guinevere is currently using MailChimp. Are there any other ones? Are there any better ones in your opinion, Anastasia?
That's a very good question. There's MailChimp is a huge platform. I think more or less 90% of the times that I've used email marketing, even seen people use it, I've used it as a freelancer, I've used it as an employee, it's usually been MailChimp. They are really good at getting in early because it's free. It gets you started free and it gives you a lot of great tools and it's super user friendly. I have nothing against MailChimp. I think that there's another platform that gives you a little bit more automation in their free account that is not MailChimp. And I'm going to just very quickly um, and now I've forgotten what it is. That's so annoying. Where am I trying to go with this?
Is it
Um,
is it MailerLite? Because I saw one of my
yes.
mentees using that the other day. It looked really good.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. So MailerLite will give you a bit more automation. So with MailChimp, you get one automation. It's the welcome email that I mentioned. It's a fantastic automation. And if you have zero money to invest in your marketing, that is perfect. MailChimp gives you about 500 contacts in their free account, or at least it did last time I checked, and one welcome email. So when someone signs up to your mailing list, they get automatically one email, and that's it. Then it's up to you to create your campaigns and keep people informed. MailerLite gives you one more automation, which is an actual journey. I think it gives you one journey for free, which is huge. So look at MailerLite if that is something that you're interested in. The most important thing for me is to understand what your priorities are. If we take email marketing out of this, if you're looking at acquiring a new platform, you need to understand your user needs because all of these platforms will be targeting a slightly different person that has slightly different needs. For example, MailChimp is targeting people that just want to get started now and have a really user-friendly platform that looks really cute and nice and you can link your website. That's fine. MailerLite targets a slightly different person. So understand your needs and go for the right platform. There's platforms that are specifically made for people that work in law and are solicitors because they're more secure. You might need to go to them if you're a lawyer, a freelance consultant that is a solicitor. But generally, understanding your needs is the most important part of the process. And then you have 2 or 3 options. You can pick the one that gives you the stuff that you need. But MailerLite is a really good shout.
Thank you so much. And lots of people in the chat there saying they are using MailerLite. So that is very cool to see, guys.
Yeah.
Just quickly, I am going to jump to John's question, and then we're going to go back to the initial questions. But John has said, I'm currently sending emails directly from my Shopify site, but someone has referenced Klaviyo. Should they make the switch, or is Shopify email still a good solution?
Um, from what I understand from the question, it's the email marketing offer from Shopify. Um, so as long as it's email marketing and people have opted into a list and you're sending through Shopify, that's absolutely fine. Wix has a similar function. Um, Squarespace as well. They all offer email marketing because it's a really great way to do things in one place. So it gives you the convenience, but also your contacts are staying within this one bubble. So you've got your website provider, they're dealing with the sensitive information that is the personal information of those people. You're not then taking them out of there and giving them to MailChimp or MailerLite because that puts you in a position where you're handling personal data, giving it to another third party. Things could go wrong. So it's really handy to have everything in one place. As long as they give you the automation that you want, the reports that you want, the amount of contacts that you need, as long as they're serving their purpose for you, you can very well stick with your website provider because I've seen the Wix one. The Wix um, email marketing solution is really good. If you find that it limits you because it doesn't do segmentation, it doesn't create personalization, then you can think about finding a different provider if you have areas where it's falling short for you. But aside from that, if it's working, I don't see why you would need to necessarily look at something else.
Yeah, no, great answer. I completely agree. And do keep us up to date, guys, on how you are getting on as you're using these email marketing tools. Okay, so Simon has said, I have 12,000 emails of all my customers that I've collected over 10 years. Wow, that's amazing, Simon. And they have said, how do I clean up and segment this list? And now this might be one for a full hours mentoring session, but any top tips there, Anastasia?
Oh, I love that. That is such a good question. I love the idea that you have all these contacts from so long ago, because of GDPR. There's nothing wrong with having these contacts right now in your possession. If you email someone that last heard from you 10 years ago, there is no chance that they will remember why they're getting emailed right now. And there is no hard and fast rule about how long you can have a contact in your list from GDPR, from law, right? It's up to you and the policies in your business. Sometimes people will say, we will lawfully keep your contact for 7 years and then we'll delete it. That's fine. What I want you to think about is whether this contact that you have from 10 years ago would even know that you're there anymore. You definitely can't just take them and add them to a mailing list because they have not opted in. The people in your mailing list are people that have said, yes, I want to hear from you. If those people in the past have not particularly opted in for you to have them in your contact now, you might as well delete it. It has zero value for your business. What you might do that is not going to interfere with the rules of general data protection regulation is send an email to that person. Say, hi, Bob. I know we haven't spoken for a while. This is what I'm up to now. And I actually I'm doing these things. It would be lovely to catch up. If Bob gets back to you and you talk and he's interested and you add him to your mailing list, that's great. There needs to be consent there. But please do not take those 12,000 contacts and just import them into MailChimp and start sending email marketing because very, very few of those people will be happy to hear from you. And they will then mark your email as spam, and that will really severely affect the deliverability of your emails. You'll be hurting yourself. And I know you can't send 12,000 emails to those people and catch up with them over coffee. Um, Start now, start getting people explicitly onto your mailing list now. And what you could do is look at some relevant contacts there, try to touch base, ask them if they want to go into your mailing list. They might say yes, they might say no, they might never respond. And then I would safely delete that information when you think, okay, I have not heard from these people. They don't want to be in my mailing list. I have no use for this contact right now, because that's personal information that you're holding. If someone hacked you and took that personal information, you would be liable. So definitely don't hold information that you don't need for your marketing. I hope that makes sense. I'm not a GDPR professional, but I've used it a lot in my business.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And it is a really good example of some really great kind of foundational advice of like do's and don'ts, best practices. But we would love to sit down with you for an hour and find out more about the business. We could do even more kind of personalized segments and help you put together a proper plan of action to get those 12,000 people and make the most of them, Simon. So do book a follow-up mentoring session. And as Anastasia mentioned, GDPR, it's a big one. It's scary. The more you do it, the more you get used to it. But if anybody is worried about GDPR, we have experts on the platform who specialize in this. So please do. That's a great session. You know, if you wanted to do like a kind of 2-for-1, definitely an email marketing plus a GDPR mentoring session would be a great combo over the next few weeks. I'm going to try and rattle through as many questions as we can. I know we have a lot. Let's cover off a basic here with Anne. So Anastasia, how do we know if someone has opened our email?
That is a great question. A lot of platforms will give you the open rate, and that is where you've sent out a campaign, you've sent it to 100 people. If your open rate is 80%, it means that 80 of those people opened your email. Now, what happens is that the platform that you use, let's just say you're using MailerLite, because a lot of us here are using it, sends an email that has a little pixel in it or a little um, bit of tech. It has a little bite in it that then when someone sees it, it sends some feedback to MailerLite and says, this person has seen this information, which means that they opened that email and potentially looked at it with their eyeballs, right? That's how MailerLite knows that I've opened that email. If you get analytics from your platform that you use, you will know someone has opened that email. Now, the question is, they opened it. Did they actually read it? Did they immediately delete it? You don't really know that. That's where we go into click rates and conversion rates. So if that email said super quick flash sale, click here to see our products, and they clicked on that button, then that means that was a meaningful engagement, that not only did they open that email, but they actually read it and clicked on it. So when we move into measuring success, that's why you want to be looking at several metrics instead of just one. Thinking that, okay, 80% of the people I send my email to actually open it might not be enough, because they might be opening it and then deleting it immediately. But to answer your question, you know when someone has opened your email by the analytics that you get from the email platform that you're using. Obviously, that doesn't work if you're using your Gmail to send out 100 emails, because Gmail doesn't by default have that function. It's your mailing providers that do. I also have to say, as a small caveat, with privacy settings now, there's lots of ways that they work that I don't understand, but I know that you might not be getting 100% accurate metrics for how many people have opened your emails, because people use devices that are really secure. They might be using other tools to keep their privacy really good, which means that MailerLite will not know that someone opened it, because that feedback loop is broken for security reasons for that user. But you can more or less trust it. I think it gives you a pretty good idea of how many people are opening your emails.
Yeah, no, a fantastic answer, and thank you for making that so clear. And before I move on to the next question, just a big thank you to Heather and everybody else in the chat who has been sharing their experiences of email platforms that you've used. It's great to hear kind of real life experiences as well, and kind of take inspiration from each other. Now, Lola has a question. When we were talking about using QR codes to have people sign up for your email marketing, they have said they've got QR codes on their website and, sorry, a QR code directing people to their website on their flyers and their business cards. but not an invitation to join their newsletter list. So when do you recommend using those QR codes for the newsletter list? Maybe what different scenarios, Anastasia? And then maybe we can help everyone take that as an action today.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. It goes to Okay, so when you're first meeting someone, you're making this first impression, you have a chance to give them a flyer or a business card. You probably do want them to be going to your website. That's a great place to go because that is the awareness. Let's just go back to the IDA funnel again. The awareness is very wide. They've just met you. They don't really know what you're doing. They're not that engaged or sold into your business. So sending them to the website, which is, the face of your business, you get the best experience there. It's great. You're not asking them to give you information. You're giving them information. When you've got the mailing list, um, you're asking them to give you their personal information, and then they know they're going to get an email from you. You're probably going to ask them for something. So I am buying into you more by giving you my information for your mailing list because I kind of want to hear from you. The example I gave you guys earlier in the presentation, which was I got this really cool sticker from this artist and they asked me to join their mailing list. I got value out of giving my email address to them. And I think that's a really great step to get people to give you something when you're giving them something in return. So when you're thinking about asking people to join a mailing list, that's why you want to have things like lead magnets and all the stuff that I mentioned, because you're giving people something in return for what they know is very valuable, their contact information. They know it's valuable because they will, like, 15 years ago, maybe it wasn't like this. It was different. But now we know what's going to happen when we give our data to someone. We're going to start getting emails. So we need to get something back. Think about if you've got a stall and like a market stall and someone has come up and they've kind of looked at your stuff and they look interested, tell them, okay, if you subscribe, you'll be able to we actually do discounts from our website. So if you like the stuff but you're not ready to buy today, subscribe to our mailing list and you'll hear when we do discounts on our website. Stuff like that. Like think about giving them value. I hope that answers the question.
No, that is absolutely excellent. And if you need any help with that, Lola, do book a mentoring session just to keep planning that out even further. And Lee, I just want to thank you there and Sally for the discussion about QR codes in the chat. Completely agree. We had a GDPR training session internally at Digital Boost recently, and I did not know that QR codes could be a little bit malicious sometimes. So yes, please be careful scanning QR codes. Do trust the person. But Lee, what a great idea. We've taught that as well in a website masterclass that we did recently. It's a blog post on our website. There's a website checklist download. You're going to be emailed about it next week, actually. But anyway, Susie teaches in that masterclass about having a page on your website that acts as a link tree. So I love that idea that you've shared there, Lee, about, oh, my ring light's gone off. I love that idea about adding a link and sending people to your mailing list and your website. What a fantastic idea. So thank you for sharing that. Elizabeth, I want to get to your question because I think it is one that is definitely a few people here might be in the same boat. So Elizabeth has a list but has completely ghosted their signups and they have never sent out an email and they're just feeling really stuck about what that first email should be. Any advice there, Anastasia?
Yeah, of course. That's happened to me many times. In fact, the example that I've been giving with a sticker and I signed up to the mailing list and I was so pumped to see what else this artist is doing has never emailed me since then. What are you doing? Either had such a good way to get contacts, but they are obviously not thinking about making that part of their business. It's one person, solo entrepreneur. I know that it can be very difficult to stay on top, and you're already working so hard to get those lists. I would say this is where a welcome email helps very, very much. So as soon as you add someone to your mailing list, they get something. So you don't have to sit there and send a campaign straight away. It doesn't matter when they join. It doesn't matter how. As soon as they go into that list, they get an email. And that email is their welcome email. You tell them who you are, why they're here. And then for your specific case, I would say if the person signed up 3 months ago, then it's reasonable for you to send an email now and say, oops, hey, I know it's been a little bit quiet, but here we are now, and here's what there is to look forward. So make a plan where you think, okay, I can send out one email every 4 weeks. These are the topics. I'm going to start now, and I'm going to keep it up. when you're ready, send out that email. If you have contacts that signed up 12 months ago, I would be wary sending them an email because it's been a little bit too long now. Again, there's no specific time frame in law, in regulation that will tell you what to do. But if you use your common sense, if you spoke to someone a year ago and suddenly you get an email from them, will you be interested or will you mark that as spam? So this is all working against you. If people are reacting to your emails negatively, it affects how many people will hear from you in the future. So maybe what is the word? Take your loss, maybe lose some of those contacts, start with the ones that engaged with you quite recently, make yourself a plan and start speaking to them now. It could be as simple as, sorry, it's been quiet. Here's what's been going on. We've been very busy. You can take it from there.
No, I love that. And I always think it's we put so much pressure on ourselves, don't we, to kind of get things perfect and we overthink, but actually the people that have, joined the email list, like Anastasia with that art example, you'd just be so excited to hear from them. Doesn't matter, if it's been a little while, you'd just be excited to see something. So try not to overthink it. I know a couple of you were saying in the chat that you're doing the same thing. So take that as an action today. If you are sitting on a newsletter list and you are putting off sending something out, send something simple. Done is better than perfect. Just get something out there and let us know how you get on. We have time for one more question. So I'm going to pronounce this Karini. I hope that's correct. I'm sorry if that's wrong. But Karini has said, what open rate is a good open rate? I love this question because it's hard to answer.
Yeah, that is true. I will tell you for marketing emails that are to customers, it really depends on your volume. I think if we took ASOS or New Look as an example, who are humongous corporations, they're probably, I'm going to guess, it's probably going to be something like 10 or 15%. It's very small open rate, but because they're emailing hundreds of thousands of people and people are buying from them, it makes sense for them. So it all goes back to, what are your goals? What are these conversions meaning for your business? Are they covering your needs? That's fine. If you're a smaller retailer, not one of those huge ones, I think with external marketing, you're looking at about 20%. Again, it's smaller open rates for sure, because of the fact that you're emailing huge amounts of, well, larger amounts of people anyway. People are buying your products. You won't have necessarily 12,000 candles to sell. You will have 50. So you don't want so many people to be opening your emails anyway. Um, and if you're doing something more intimate, if you have a list of people that you've coached and they're your alumni and you want them to stay in touch, you want them to be around 80%, the open rate for those emails. You want people to really be in a community where they're engaging ideas and supporting each other. You're looking at higher rates. So to sum up, if you're selling and you've got kind of a good thing going, you're turning around some customers, if you're getting a 20% or 25%, it's probably okay. You might want to get that a bit higher. But I think with buying products, your open rates are going to be lower than when you're nurturing communities and sharing ideas. It's a little bit different in that case. I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thank you so much.